Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Family by Design. And Liz and I had a lot of fun recording this, and so you're gonna laugh with us just as you hear the things that we share in this concerning how to have proper discipleship, and really just about having a lifestyle that's centered around discipleship and training your children up and making your home that place, making your life that place, really making discipleship a lifestyle. And so enjoy this as you listen to this, and grab your pen and paper. You can write down some really good nuggets that we were able to share, and it's going to really, really help you. Be blessed as you listen.
I'm really excited this morning to jump into this topic with you because I believe you have a lot of wisdom to share. And so apparently I'm really funny this morning, or funny looking. You know what? You should laugh. That's not what we're talking about, because laughter is good, especially in your marriage.
You just said this morning 2 times, and when they listen to this, it might not be morning.
Well, whatever. Whenever you are listening, morning, noon, night, midnight, the morning, early morning hours, I don't know.
We pick on each other a lot.
We do, which is good.
Mostly you, me. You pick on me mostly.
Really?
Definitely. I want all of our listeners to know that I have a really difficult time at home. I need prayer.
You definitely need prayer.
That is for darn sure.
We all need prayer. So we're going to talk about home being a discipleship center. And I love this verse in Deuteronomy 6. It's Deuteronomy 6:6-7. And it says, "And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up." I love this verse. Obviously, it's talking about the law, but good things. We should talk about the Lord. We should talk about good things. And it says that the parents should teach these ways, these laws, these things to their children diligently. So I think you could speak to being diligent to instruct your children, and then what it looks like. You shall talk when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you're lying down, when you rise up. This is basically the entire day.
Yeah, it should be your lifestyle.
So
it's not just when you're inside the doors of your home, your dwelling place, but it's everywhere you go. That your home is more than just your house. It's your family unit, and whether that's just a married couple without kids, but it certainly includes, a whole family with kids, that kind of thing. But we're talking about this being a discipleship center. Another way you could say it is that it should be the center of discipleship, because the idea of discipleship is that it's training. A disciple is a learned one, and we are constantly taking in information as humans, especially in the information age. We have a lot of information, and we don't have enough revelation.
That's good.
And so when we're raising kids, and I would say this for anybody who's married that doesn't have kids, whether you will or you won't have kids, or anybody that's married with kids, this is true for all of us, that we are constantly taking in information, and that information that we're taking in is affecting our life. It's affecting our relationships.
It's communicating to us whether we realize it or not.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so really the home should be the center of discipleship. And of course it's having a home God's way. That's the most important thing. Right. That's really what we're getting at here. But it's the home has to be this place, especially, and in particular we're going to talk about with your children and making it a place to disciple them. But the truth is that we're being, I don't want to say we're being discipled by lots of things, but we are getting a lot of information by a lot of things. And if we're not careful, and our home isn't the central place in the standard for truth, then a lot of these other information aspects that are coming at our children, they can become truth. And so, we don't believe in sheltering our kids completely from the world. We believe that we live in the world, and they're going to experience things, and I would rather my kids experience things while they're with us. Yeah. That's right, while they're under they're under my roof than have them experience it outside and then not really know how to process that. Now there's a balance to that. And, we don't watch, dirty movies, bad stuff like that, right? There's a balance to it. And I've even met people that are like, oh yeah, I let my kids drink and get drunk in my house because I'd rather them do it there instead of, just out somewhere else. And it's like, okay, well, that's not really how it's like. The idea behind being able to walk them through things under your home is better than just leaving it to the wolves. Like whenever they go outside, they grow up and get outside of the house. But obviously you can't be encouraging them to do sinful things, wrong things.
Right.
So there's a balance to it. But when we're all going to be exposed to the elements of the world.
That's right.
And if your kids don't have you there to help process through whatever those things are, then they're not going to probably know how to process it through very well when they're on their own. And so it's not about shielding them from the world, but it's about helping them to be able to see the world through the right perspective. So all of you can shut your kids off from the world and not have any electronics, not let them go. If they don't go to, a public school or even a private school, if they're homeschooled and they don't have any outside influence, I suppose you could shut them off from the world. But at some point, they're going to be exposed to it because they're going to move out of the house.
That's right.
And, they're going to end up being exposed to it. So we're fine with our kids having access, obviously, in healthy ways to the outside world through electronics and different. We're fine. Us personally, we're fine with it. And we're able to, whenever things are said, whether it be right or wrong, we're able to help them process through things. Now, I'm going to give you an example of this. I just had a really fun thing that happened with Lawson, our youngest, the other day. And this wasn't anything bad at all, but to listen to him process it was really, really funny. So Toby Mac's new album, we always listen to Toby Mac stuff. The kids like it and it's upbeat and whatever. And his new album, he's got this one song that says, deeper, I'm going deeper, I'm getting tired of the surface. And I had picked Lawson up. He was with my sister, and I picked him up, and I had it playing in the background. And I was trying to ask him questions. He's like, "Turn it up, Dad." So I was like, "All right, question time's over." So I turned it up, and he's listening to this, and then all of a sudden he goes, "What does he want to go to hell?" Just like that. I said, "What? What are you saying? Why are you saying that?"
I love that you didn't just automatically correct him and be like, "No," and then push him off. That you prodded a conversation.
Right. He was hearing something and having thoughts about it I'm just using this as an example.
Right.
Obviously, it wouldn't have been the end of the world if I didn't explain this to him, but I took an opportunity to, is my point. And so I said, what are you talking about? And I thought I knew what he was saying, but I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, if you keep going deeper, eventually you'll get to hell. If you keep digging deeper through the earth." This is the mind of a 6-year-old. And I said, that's a good thought. I said, he's really not talking about going deeper, like digging down in the earth. Like in his mind, he's thinking, I'm tired of standing on top of the ground. Let's dig down below. Like that's what was going through his mind. And so I said, but he's talking about going deeper in his relationship with God. And he was like, oh, okay. Now, whether he fully grasped that concept at that point or not, probably not totally, but there was a seed planted. So my point is that I took it as an opportunity to disciple. And that's there's so much we could say about all this, and even when you're dealing with difficult things or challenging things, whatever, we have to be willing to have those tough conversations.
That's right.
And even, so that was not a tough conversation, that was a fun one.
Right.
But sometimes we have things come up that we need to be willing to address because our kids need our response. I remember when we don't watch the Grammys, we don't like Hollywood and the entertainment industry, we don't like any of that stuff. But I always appreciated Whitney Houston because she's gone now, but she had one of the most incredible voices ever. Mm-hmm. And she passed away right before one of the Grammys. And I said, I want to watch this. And so we did. We turned it on. We were at my parents' house, and Kingston was little. I don't know. He was 6 years old. And so then there was a song that came on. And
I don't remember this.
Oh, I remember this very distinctly. There was a song that came on, and the song said something about being sexy. And Kingston's like, he probably the same age Lawson was. So, 6 or 7 years old. And he goes, "Dad, what's sexy?" And I was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have watched the Grammys. And I said, well, and I was like, Lord, help me out here. And I said, it means you look good in a really bad way. You don't remember this?
No.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And he goes, okay. And I don't think he really got it. But my point in saying all that is that we shouldn't back off from things with our kids. We need to. Now, I wouldn't encourage anyone to go watch the Grammys and hear them sing songs about being sexy. I'm not encouraging that because that's not why we were watching the Grammys. I just wanted to hear how they were going to respond to Whitney Houston that had just passed. And that was many years ago. But, the thing is that things come up in life.
That's right.
You face situations. And so walk through those things with your kids. Take every opportunity as a discipleship moment. You can make it fun. You can engage them in unique and creative ways, but find ways to train your children. I remember Bobby Indian saying one time, who's one of the best Bible teachers ever. He said someone was asking him, like, how do I have a Bible study with my family at home? And he said, well, this might surprise you, but we didn't really do Bible studies. He said, we lived in the Word with our kids every day.
I love that.
And I just
so
thought,
much.
and it took, now I'm not against doing studies. We've done some different things here and there, and we take every situation and we work to implement Jesus and the Word and the Lord into everything that we're doing. This goes back to the verse that you originally read when we started talking about this, which is about like in the home, in the marketplace. I forget however it phrased it there.
Just in
but it's
your
in everyday
ways,
life.
yeah.
In all of your ways, there's a place for having the Lord be the center. And when you have kids, it's not just about Jesus, you're the center, but it's about bringing Jesus into every situation and training them in that.
That's right.
And I think that that's one of the ways that we can have our kids grow up and really fear the Lord, is because when they see us, it's not about the times that we kneel down beside our bed and pray. It's not about the times to where we, do something spiritual, but it's when we face different things.
That's right.
That we include the Lord in on it. And we respond properly with the heart turned towards the Lord. There's a fear and there's a reverence there. And we're, without even maybe sometimes even being super intentional, although we are intentional about it, but our kids latch onto that. They catch that and they're like, you know what? There's something there between their relationship with the Lord and them. And we're discipling them when we do that.
That's right. And discipleship, it's a lifestyle. I like that you said that it is a lifestyle. So can you speak, this verse says diligently. So I know you like the word diligent. Your name means diligent. Can you just speak to what it would look like maybe, and I think you have weaved that in and out through things that you said, to be diligent and making sure that you're communicating.
This is a great question because it's not about being perfect.
That's
it's
right.
about being persistent.
Yeah.
By the way, my name technically doesn't mean diligent, but
You're
my
right.
parents
Okay.
named me that after somebody who was a diligent person. So then they just called me Kent the Diligent. And, they heard the Lord on that. And I've not always been super disciplined. I've not always been perfect at stuff, but I even when I've wanted to quit, I just find myself not quitting. So I am very diligent. So it's about being persistent, and we have to make sure that it's not looking for the mark of perfection, because the longer I'm a parent, the older I get, and this is true for both of us. I know this. The more we realize how imperfect we are.
That's right.
We make a lot of mistakes. We've made a lot of mistakes, but one thing we haven't done is quit on the Lord. And that's something that, if I could say for anybody to make it a core value in your life for discipling your children, is don't quit on God. I mean, I get why people get frustrated and even, well, I really don't get why people quit church. I really don't. But people oftentimes will quit church, they'll quit their job, they'll, bad situations, challenging situations, they end up in divorce, different stuff, and then they quit on God. Like, I can comprehend quitting on things in life because life gets challenging, and that is the easy way out. So I don't agree with it. I understand it, but I don't understand people that quit on God. I can't comprehend that. And that needs to be a core value in you, is that you don't quit on God. You don't give up on God. You don't quit trusting in Him and pressing into Him and pursuing Him. But with that comes plenty of opportunity to fail, because we are humans.
That's
and
right.
We do fail, we do miss it, and there's nothing wrong with your kids seeing you fail. And I'm going to say something real super fresh here, and you probably already know where I'm going with this. But we had on our Monday, so our Mondays are like our family holy day is what they're supposed to be. But oftentimes ministry bleeds over into it, and because we just have to force it to shut off. And so you were trying to deal with something, and I was like, no, it's not. And then I was dealing with it, and then it escalated, and it became a little bit of a frustrating situation, to say the least. And so
I violated our Monday.
You violated our Monday, and I was a little grouchy about it, and so whatever.
Then I reacted to your grouchy.
And then I reacted to you reacting, and so anyways.
Right in front of our child.
Yeah. And one in particular, although they all probably got a little bit of a feel of what was happening in the air. But so we did something fun. So we went in the bedroom and we talked through it. And
we really talked.
Yes, we really did talk. It wasn't like we're going to go in the bedroom and talk. And we really did go in there and talk, and that was all we did. So, but what we did is we had a little bit of fun with it, and so we took one of my real old T-shirts. And
really old.
I can't even. I was wearing it when Kingston was born. I have a picture. It's got so many holes in it, and now it's probably got more or bigger holes in it. But so we did this.
What are you saying? I'm fat.
No, listen. Okay, everybody needs to know what we did. They're like, what did you do? What did you do? So we years ago, Kingston and Elijah were fighting, and so we made them get inside of a T-shirt together for like 10 minutes or something like that. And it was really funny. And so they were forced to be close. It was funny and awful at the same time. So then I said, hey, let's get a taste of our own medicine, which of course didn't bother me, So we took one of my old T-shirts and we fit it over both of us and popped our heads out the head hole together. And I think we had our arms both in the armhole.
We looked ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous.
But we laughed.
And we came out and we're like, look, guys, this is our punishment for fighting. And they're all like, of course, I'm always making jokes about, oh, your mom, yeah, or whatever. So they're like, Dad, whatever. But so we had fun with it, was my point. But,
that's right.
But we also were not afraid to admit, like, we made a mistake. We didn't respond to each other correctly. We reacted, all of that stuff. And so it's not about perfection, but it is about being persistent.
And they saw that we came to resolve.
Yeah.
And then it didn't ruin our whole day. And our fighting isn't like yelling, throwing things at each other. Like, it's really just, I don't know. It's just a little bit of a raised voice and some tension in the air, I would say.
Really, even just tension and raised voices. I mean, that's not even it. But
right.
Yeah.
It's not like a fight. So sometimes, like, even
you wouldn't do good to fist fight me. Like, not that I would ever do that, but you're like half my size.
I actually, it's not even in my nature to physically like fight. I'm more of the flee. I'll just run away.
You're the flight girl.
Yes, I'm the flight girl.
I'm not really. Well, I'm not a physically. I'm not a fighter. I've never been in a fight in my life, but
I would like to think that I would fight for the right thing, but I'm pretty sure I would flee.
You're a Mercy straight up. I'm Justice straight up. So I'm quick to stand up. I've like never been in a physical altercation, but I'm quick to stand up and say that's wrong and you're not doing that right, which is really was where the problem started. But anyway, so we're not trying to rehash our issues, but the point is that you take every moment and you make it a discipleship moment.
That's right.
You take opportunity to speak into things, and you're always in this mode of training and teaching and equipping and helping, and you find creative ways to do it. But you have to train your kids. You have to disciple your kids. And in the information age that we're living in, they're going to get a ton of information. They're going to get they're going to have a ton of opportunity to take on things that are not correct, and they need to be able to process that through your eyes as the parent. And so just in closing here, because we're about out of time, one of the things that is really important is being willing to have the tough conversations with your kids. Some things happen organically, like, okay, well, this came up, so let's talk about it. Other things, like sex, for example, I mean, yeah, it comes up, but you really have to be intentional to go and say, hey, we are going to talk about the birds and the bees or the deers and the fishes as we did it. So you have to be intentional to go and discuss particular things. But either way, whether it just comes up or you make the conversation happen, you have to be willing to have those tough conversations. You have to. You can't hide things from your kids. Your kids see and know more than what you think they see and know anyways. They're way more observant than you have any idea of.
Right. And if you're hiding things from them or unwilling to have the conversation, they're going to go have it somewhere else.
That's exactly right.
And they're going to hide things from you.
Yep.
But if there is, actually, I think we asked our second child, if on a scale of 0 to 10, how comfortable do you feel with coming to me and having hard conversations? And he said like 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, high five.
Yeah.
I feel really good about that.
I felt good about that. I was like, okay, there's a little bit of room. I think he told me the same thing, like an 8 or 9 or something.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, there's room for improvement. But at least he didn't say like a 2. Like I don't basically can't feel like I can tell you anything.
Right.
So I felt good about that. And that's as your kids get older, you could ask them that, when they hit probably 10, 11, 12, you could ask them that question. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, do you feel like that you can come and talk to me about difficult things? 0 being not at all, 10 being, I can come to you about anything, and see how your kids respond.
And then don't be offended.
Don't be offended.
And say, oh, yes, you can, because then that's going to even create a big chasm.
And it just proves that.
Right.
Yeah,
and just say, and a good follow-up is, what can I do as your parent to help you feel more comfortable having tough conversations with me? Yeah. Is there something I'm not doing that you wish I were doing? Is there something that I am doing that you wish I weren't doing? We have to be able...
I wasn't doing. I weren't. Sorry.
Wasn't. Okay.
I weren't doing.
Sorry, I was trying to get it right.
I married a Southern girl.
I was trying not to say it backwards because sometimes I say things backwards.
You're awesome.
So those are good, important things to be able to ask your teenagers, and that you remain unoffended and build.
Yeah.
Build. We want connection with our children.
And a lot of this, so this is what a lot of discipleship really comes down to, and this, we'll just end with this, is it's not about, sometimes it is about saying, hey, let's sit down, let's read through this, let's talk through this, let me get your input on this, let me give you my input on this, like scripturally, doing Bible studies. Sometimes it is about that, and we encourage that. We think that's great. But most of discipleship is communication through relationship.
That's right.
As you're going through life together.
Yep.
That's really what discipleship is. But you have to be mindful as a parent, you have to be mindful that you are responsible to make that happen. It's not your child's job to make that happen. Right. Jesus called his disciples. Jesus brought his disciples in. Jesus made them do things. Jesus brought them into prayer. Jesus brought them into ministry. Jesus ate meals with them. He made it happen because he was the parent, if you will. He was the more spiritual one. So parents have to be the more spiritual one. And even when it comes to tough conversations, you may not want to have them because you've got things you're working through in your own life. You have to start somewhere with your kids, because there's this whole thing which we've talked about before, the law of first mention.
Right. And
the law of first mention is the first time that your kid hears something, that's what they're going to believe about it.
Right.
Wouldn't you rather your kid really hear from you about all of the issues that are going on in life? I mean, all the transgender stuff, even all of the wrong things that are going on, as far as like, basically it's like in our society, like every white person is a racist.
Right.
Well, wouldn't you rather your kids be able to hear from you that know, whether you're black or white or brown or yellow or green or purple or whatever color you are, wouldn't it be better that they hear from you that, there are racist people. There's racist white people, there's racist black people, there's racist, if that's even the right word. I've heard some people say that's not even the right word to use, but whatever, if there's issues in people's hearts, that it's not just only white people or only brown people, but there's lots of people that have issue with, there's some people that have issue with people of different skin color or whatever, but not everybody is that way. It would be better that your kids hear that from you. Now, if you don't believe that, you need to get a checkup from the neck up yourself and have God really help you come into some light and stop listening to leftist liberal ideology. But anyways, it's another thing for another time. So praise God, you got to have your head screwed on straight, but then you have to be willing to have conversations to where your kids get the right information. Amen.
Yes.
So be willing to have tough conversations. And
Be willing to have any conversation.
I'll sum it up by saying this: discipleship is having conversation. Some of it's not always good, but it can be productive, even if it's difficult. But it's having conversation, intentionally about things that are going on in life that you're just walking through. I mean, that basically is discipleship. So you got it, parents. You got this. You can do it. Make it happen. Start down that track, and then give the Lord room to work in you and in your kids, and watch how they can be grown up and trained up simply by you engaging in conversation with them.
That's right. Thank you for listening in on this conversation. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. Share it with your friends and on your socials. For more information about Ward Ministries, check out wardmen.org. If this podcast is encouraging you on your marriage and family, we want to hear about it. Email us at info@wardmen.org, and make sure you keep your eye out weekly for the latest podcast on marriage and family.